Hey, Fix-It-Tony here. Next installment of my major engine project program is the alternator. So the alternator, I'm standing in front of the car. It's off to the left of the engine, and it is down here on my W202. This is it right here. And there's a small little pulley, and the serpentine belt loops around through it. So you're going to have the serpentine belt removed, and before you touch anything on the alternator and you do work on this alternator, you make sure that the negative terminal on the battery is removed and out of the way from making contact with the battery, so that it's now safe and you don't damage yourself or anything else in the car. So before I tackle any of the bolts, which I'm going to have to find how many there are, which is not going to be too hard, I don't think, I'm going to disconnect the power. Before I do that, I'm going to want to make sure I label and mark the terminals so that I know which one is the negative and which one is the positive. The alternator is this one here, and it has this large nut. There is a spline type of thing, so you do need a alternator pulley removal kit, and you're going to need one of these sort of special doohickeys because this sort of spline thing, as later on I'll show you, goes in here, and then I will be allowed to tighten this nut on. So just be mindful. And this alternator is a little bit bigger. I think this is 115 amp versus the 90 amp that's in the car by default. So this is my first time doing such a job, so I'm going to take a guess that this bolt right up here is actually attaching it, and I'm pretty confident that it is. But there is this wire, these pair of wires that go to my secondary air pump, and it's caught underneath this sort of clamp housing that looks stainless steelish, and it goes into this first bolt. So I'm going to undo this first bolt, hopefully try to loosen up this wire, get it out of the way so that when I take off the second bolt at the bottom and the alternator releases, I don't accidentally yank on this wire and break the wire. You can see how it's pretty tight. Not a lot of leverage. I'm hoping it's not too tight. Plan B would be go to 1/2 inch with an extension, but we'll see. This is going to be a little tricky to show you, but here's the alternator. I have to first get the power cables in the back. So what you're going to see here is I can see them. Let's see. Yeah, there you go. You can see the cables. Let me try to focus. All right. So this is one cable, and then this is the other cable. They're different size nuts. It's going to be tight, so I'm using a 1/4 inch socket drive. And make sure you disconnect these and know which one goes where, so you put it on right on the alternator. And then once that wire is clear, we have to get at another nut. So there's actually 2 bolts for this alternator. There's one right here, and I think there's actually one right above there. You can sort of see it. You can catch it from the top in a different shot. So it's probably easier for me to turn this off while I undo those cables. Some videos show you that you can get the alternator from the bottom, but I had an oil cooler line, stabilizer bar, so it might have been a different engine, a 4-cylinder engine in those other videos. But if you have a 6-cylinder engine and a secondary air pump that's not belt driven, I don't think you're going to get it down from the bottom. So if you do have a W202 with a 6-cylinder inline 6 with a secondary air pump that's electric, not belt driven, leave something in the comments. But I took out the air filter box. This just pulls out, and you can sort of see now how I have the space to come straight up. I'll move this hose out of the way, and you can see how there's just this way more room. So that's going to be my tact. All right, so as I was loosening the bottom bolt, the whole alternator started to shift. So it's a better idea to loosen the bottom bolt first and then do the top. All right, so I do have someone helping me hold the alternator because we probably should, again, did the bolts in reverse. I'm gonna change hands. Got it now?
You got it?
Yep. And now, it's just a matter of wiggle woggles. Yeah, that's not gonna come up here either. Maybe now. Miracle. It just happened. Okay. But my other alternator is bigger, so I don't think I'm going to be any better off. Stay tuned. Part 2 is coming up. All right, so a couple of updates. We're going to try to go from the top-down approach. I don't want to pull out my secondary air pump. So what I'm doing is, now this box, I really wish I can just pop it out and undo some screws, but it's got some funky rubber bushing type of things. There's 2 of them, rubber bushings on the top and the bottom, and there's some sort of a flange cap. I struggled, so I'm calling it quits on getting past this box. So instead, I'm pulling out this one hose that goes in behind this, I don't know, auxiliary pump of some sort. 2 screws down here. This is a clamp for the alternator cable. I undid that, so I'm going to pull this out. It's just kind of goes like that to the bottom of my reservoir. I think it's the reservoir, yeah. Goes underneath like this to the reservoir, and then this goes to the radiator. I don't know, I might buy a new part here, I'm not sure. And then the next step is take this and sort of just push it out of the way. And then this can go up out of the way too. So I'm going to get a second set of hands, and we're going to try to put the alternator in through the top. I don't want to undo this because that's to my valve cover, so that's fixed. And that's sort of, I don't want to move that, so that's an immovable. So let me show you what's going on here. This is my new alternator. This is my old one. The new one's a little bit bigger because it's 115 amp versus 90. The other challenge I'm going to have is I've got this stupid thing. So this pulley it's recessed, and I need something like this, right, to hold the shaft. And then this. Now, you know what I might do? Right, so theoretically, I put something here to hold the shaft, and then I have to turn this nut. Now, I would probably get a pipe wrench, grab it and hold it, and then try to loosen it. But what I'm going to try something actually different. I'm going to put my impact wrench here and just hold this and see if the impact wrench will loosen this up. Because this is connected, you know, anyway. Once I crack it, maybe it'll go. All right, let's give it a whirl. All right, so I got my 1/2 inch impact wrench. Yeah, hell, look at that. It worked. Easy peasy. Lemon squeezy. Good thing for an impact wrench. So, I'm going to clean this first. A lot of crud in there. But let's just see if I can wiggle this in without help tonight. All right. I don't know, maybe. Yeah. And this is heavy. This is not light either. Yeah, you can see how everything just seems to be in the way. Whereas, you know, really, if I move that damn air pump, it's really gonna work. Yeah, shoot. Oh, boy. All right, so the bolt came out, and this is sort of the bracket that you see here. And it might mean I have to disconnect this vacuum line just so I can get it up and out. But I'll remember that that's how it was when I go ahead and put it back. But yeah, I'm taking off that secondary air pump. So now to do that, this pipe right here comes up through this pipe right here, so I can disconnect. But you can see my bolting mechanisms to the air pump. Right, you got maybe one there, and then one on the bottom. I'll probably undo the one on the bottom first, and then go from there and tackle the two top ones. This hose here is a real bugger. I don't want to tackle. I don't want to undo this or undo this. Gosh, if I don't have to. I'd rather just... Interestingly, there's a missing clamp. So the hose feels just like this, but there's a missing clamp. So it's almost like they never put one back on. I'm twisting it. It's not coming. I might need to get a pick tool. Well, so the secondary air pump, I actually traced it up to this connection right here. So, it was covered in tape, probably because the clip broke at some point when they were probably trying to fix the other alternator. Maybe that's what they did. So this now disconnects the secondary air pump. So I just got to remove that bolt that's down there. It's causing a lot of weight. So once I pulled the bolt out, I actually separated. You can see how it's got a little bit of a clip here. So I just pull this apart. I'm gonna try and give you a view of what I'm seeing. So this is the bottom bolt. I cracked the top two ones. This one was really hard. All right, it's loose now. Okay. All right, so now the whole contraption's loose. So I wonder, yeah, see, the problem is it's just me by myself. Let's see here. Yeah, that's pretty good. I got low battery. It might cut out, so hang in there. I'm taking off the first, which is the top rear word. Pretty short. I'll show you the bolts later. All right. Let's take this one off. Oh, that's oily. Ugh, gross. Okay, this oily one is the bottom towards the front. Oh, that's a new problem. We'll see. There. You gotta lift it up a little bit, otherwise the weight of the pump. Okay. Secondary air pump is out. Here, let's bring it over here. Yeah, so look at the, see, this one's full of oil too. Huh. I got a feeling they took this air pump off when they did replace the alternator before, because there's this clamp, this wire housing that I bet this had to go through like this, but they never put it back. So I think that's, and then this clamp is missing. See, this is a missing clamp here, so I'm gonna find a clamp. I'll wipe this down. So I have a couple of issues here on my secondary air pump. When I pulled it out, I've got a couple of exposed wires here and some sheathing exposed here. So all of this will need to be taped and protected. So this stuff here, Tessa 51036, is a heat resistant electrical tape. So yeah, I'm just gonna use that and wrap it around. So you open it up, and then this, you can just carefully slide it out. So now I have to mark this. This is gonna be on the right side. So I have some heat shrink tubing that I'm going to place. And then, just for laughs, oh yeah, easy peasy. I'm with one hand here. Yep, that's what you gotta do. All right, well, question is, am I gonna show you all of the struggles or just show you to the final? But we'll see. So to get the new alternator ready for putting it back, I had to remove the pulley from the old one. The old pulley didn't have any bearings. It's just a standard old pulley. It's going to mount to the shaft of my alternator. So it kind of goes in quite simply. Now, depending on your alternator setup, you might need to get an alternator pulling toolkit. It has various teeth and it helps to hold the shaft in place, for example. But because my nut is recessed, this particular kit here that I'm showing, hopefully it's coming through, doesn't really help for this particular model. So it's going to be basically just a nut, and I'm going to have to hold the pulley with a belt clamp, and then I'm going to use my impact wrench to finish it off, and then do a final torque. The tricky part is, because it's so recessed, is how do you get it on without stripping the nut. So what I'm going to do is, there, got it. finger tight. And then I get my belt. Flip it around this way. So now I'll get you the torque specification. So if you can get someone to help you, that'd be great. I'm gonna tighten this to 70 foot-pounds to start. Have a belt clamp to hold onto the pulley and someone just stabilizing whatchamacallit. Get that nut in there.
What happened? Something slipping?
Still slipping, yeah. Ready?
Yeah.
Slipping?
I think so.
I was having trouble properly torquing the nut onto my new alternator, and I forgot to record my solution. It involved grabbing my socket there, as you can see there, and attaching my torque wrench to the top, holding that stationary while I torqued on the socket. So I got the alternator in, and it does help to have someone helping you, because lifting the alternator up from the bottom into the bracket, then you just feed the bolts in, and actually from the front, from the bolts from the front. And then the tightening torques for this model car is 42 Newton meters. So once the torque wrench torques, then we're going to be all set. All right, so let me get my glasses on, turn on more light. Okay, so what you're seeing now is the tightening phase of the alternator. Again, this is 42 Newton meters for the bracket, alternator to the bracket, and it's a little on the tight side. There. Next up is reconnecting the wires. These have a unique nut retention system. I don't know if you can see that. I'm just going to guess that you are, but this nut is actually retained inside. The tricky part is the wire is bent a certain way. And I have to get this on. Whew. So that's on. Hold on a second. I'm going to see if I can find the old nut. So now I'm going to try to squeeze. I got to approach it from this angle and then squeeze it shut. Maybe like this. Oh man, I really would love to get my arm right in there, but I can't.
No, throw it in there.
right, so when you're torquing these wires, the big one is 15 Newton meters and the small one is 4 Newton meters. Officially reinstalled. So now at this point, you can probably go ahead and replace the serpentine belt. But because I'm part of a larger project, I got to continue working on the rest of the car. But let me just close out and say thank you for watching this alternator replacement video. Hopefully it was straightforward and short enough. I'll certainly, edit it down. But I do appreciate your time. Thank you. Bye.